Hey guys, what's going on? So this morning I'm going to be putting my watch list together. These are my top pairs from the Sunday market breakdown. So essentially I'm just looking at how price is reacting to this area. I would like to see if this breaks above, pushes back in, gives us an entry and we go short. Essentially that's what I would like to see at this point. So I'm going to be a little bit more patient with this one to wait and see how that formulates, but that's basically what I'm going to be looking for on that pair. The DXY is still very subjective, as we anticipated. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to continue to the upside just yet. It can still come in double bottom here or even tap into this low, and then this evolves ever so slightly like that. So we just want to be more on the A game with this. Right now we don't know if necessarily now is a good time to be trading DXY and Euro USD just because of how this is formulating, but we can see that, you know, price is in this descend. So the nice thing about that is once this trend has been broken, we can then look for upside movement and continue going higher. And there could be just an abundance of trades, and this could be very, very momentum filled, which is nice. You know, so once we've actually completed and did everything we had to do, we can start pushing up, getting involved in continuations, and that's the run that I'm looking for. The US 500, as anticipated, it's coming into that expanding. It's not what I was looking for, but it's not unlikely for this pair to be looking for continuation in these areas. So it's something that I'm fully aware of. We did speak about this on the SMB, so that's pretty awesome. We've got the JP225. JP225 is just a bit too overextended in this corrective wave now. I'm not currently looking for anything in particular. I am going to be still monitoring this just for educational purposes. However, right now, as you can see from a daily perspective, that this isn't your most typical sequence in terms of a move to the downside. So for that reason alone, you don't want to be getting caught up in some unnecessary losses in these areas. Just let price kind of develop, and then once we get a solid follow through and price, you know, even if it's down here, and then we get very deliberate price action, by then we'd be well prepared. The yen pairs would be geared up as well, but I think likely looking at these other yen pairs, I think we could just see this continue moving to the upside in this trickling momentum, eventually tap into this area, break highs, catch people out on the wrong side, and then we start the run. And I think that is truly what is worth waiting for, because that would be a very well momentum filled run with plenty of opportunity. So something to just bear in mind, that sometimes we could be looking for something in these areas and then it just overextends, and then we just have to write it off completely. And this could be written off for another, call it 2 or 3 months, probably 2 months, but just bear that in mind. Euro Aussie's already started to commit now, which is nice. There was an opportunity in here, which wasn't my preferred entry, but once we cleared that line in the sand there, we then could go down to the 15 and we could see that there was sort of criterias within criterias, just not my typical type of entry because of the mess, but there was entries in there. I think more than likely what I am looking for is price to come back into these areas. So I am looking for this to now make its way back up. Just going to mark this bottoms on. So we've got those lows, and then we've got to, well, a subjective first touch, but we're coming in here, and what I am hoping to look to see is we do this and we move up and we tap into this area and then we get a sell. Now that is what I'm looking for. Truly, I think an entry over here, even an insurance entry in these areas would be nice, but I would like to see something like that. And then from a higher time frame perspective, it still makes sense within sequence. We're still channeling as well, probably not from this angle, but we're still channeling to the downside, which is nice, and we could see that really being a really nice move to the downside. So something that I am going to be waiting for and just looking at and observing very closely is how we continue to the downside from here. If we just sell off and create continuation below, cool, we're still in a clear run to the downside, but in terms of a risk reward, we're actually looking at, if we even get there with a risk entry, let's say, you could be looking at roughly around about an 8 to 10% trade there alone, and that's just to the bottom of the range. And then if we do commit and break through with impulse, then it could open up the doors to about 18 odd. So interesting price action there, something to observe. Is it going to shape up today? Most probably. If it does, it will be just New York session time, so I'm going to be keeping that one on watch as well. EuroCAD, I think EuroCAD is just not quite fully ready for me. There was a trade in here, up here, but that one is gone now. The trade down here is just not giving me what I'm looking for in terms of a good trade idea. I personally couldn't really show you a really good trade here right now, so I would personally just stay out of this, wait for something a bit more low risk, and then get involved in that. GC is looking interesting as well for the short. I like it, I do like it, but still need to wait for that. If we do penetrate this ray line here, I'll set my alert and I'll be looking for continuation below. Most probably a Wednesday trade, Wednesday London session, Wednesday London session likewise, or Thursday. This trade could most probably be ready by Thursday. New Zealand CAD, US dollar Swiss. We are in continuation area now, so this is where I'd be looking for a push back up and an insurance entry, to be honest. So what I'm going to be looking for is, I'm going to look for this to just basically catch people out, push up, insurance entry, and we go long. And that is basically the game plan for me. Yeah, risk reward. Even if you were able to get in within here, yeah, you've got more than enough room for protection. Even if you wanted to cover the low completely, it's completely fine. You don't need to, it's not necessary. I'd say 10 to the high, you've got around about 2.3, 2.4, so you've got enough to manage. And then all the way up to the high, yeah, about 10%. So you're pretty good for that as well. I might put that one, yeah, I might as well have that there. Aussie US dollar, likewise with the DXY, it's just too indecisive at the moment. I'm going to wait on it. If I was to analyze this, I just couldn't say there's enough data right now for me to actually say there's a very good trade coming up. Yeah, it's not worth it. GJ is tapping into these areas. This could be a very interesting area to just observe. I think it's worth having at least one yen pair on, and for me, this is the one. So I'm going to keep this on. I don't think I'm going to be taking an entry on it as such. I'm just going to be observing it closer, because for me it's a 4-hour play right now. I would like to see a daily turnaround as well, and yeah, we're going to have to wait and see what happens there. But probably no trade, just definitely going to keep it on watch to observe. GA is looking interesting as well for a long right now. So what if we just remove all of this and we put this on right here? We can, oops, I'll put a ray line. We can see we've tapped into that low. What does that actually mean? Well, it means that we could pull back up to the upside to fulfill this. Right, so if I look at it from a 4-hour perspective, it looks a bit impulsive back to the downside. GA can be a bit choppy, but what I do like about it is we filled that wick, we've come back in, and now we're looking for potential reversal. So how are we going to take that? Well, we need to be a bit careful. This can drop off a little bit more before it comes back up. That's completely fine too. And then we get an insurance entry back in these areas. This would be a bit more higher risk. If you wanted to lower the risk, you'd wait for the next one, which would be a second continuation in this area just above these highs. But if you want to go and take in the trade that I'm going to be looking for, I'm going to be looking for this one here, where we basically have that, right? And yeah, essentially I'm going to take it up here, 6% for the total of that trade, but then we're not playing that small move anyway. We're playing this for the bigger move, which turns into a 10% trade. So they're not huge percentages, but there's definitely good quality trades there. GA is not my preferred entry anyway, so I'm not gonna waste my time too much with GA at the moment, because it's not, I would look for a 3-touch opposed to the 2 here. But just bear in mind, if you're going to take it, this is a good area to be looking at it first or second. Clearing this high is so much better if we clear that high and then create continuation up there, it's definitely a no-brainer. You want to jump on that for sure. Okay, so completion of this New Zealand US dollar. Once again, I wouldn't say that this going short is the one. I would say this is more so the structure here. And now we've broken it and we're continuing to the upside. It's a little bit more clear because of how we moved away. So I wouldn't over forecast and start thinking expansion short. So I'll be thinking continuation to the upside. There could be some traps in here as well. So this is something to bear in mind, that what you tend to see in these areas is price may do something like this, where it drops, comes back up and does something like that, and then goes, and then that becomes your base. And I think that's what I'm going to be looking at really and truly, if just to kind of observe it and see, because if this plays well, then we might see things like the DXY turn around, continue to its dominant direction to the downside right now, and then tap into those value areas we spoke about below down here. And we might see Euro USD and Aussie US dollar pull up to the upside as well. So it might just be one to be a bit more patient with, but there could be an entry in there as well. If you want to be taking a high risk entry, you could be using that as your base. And then technically it's kind of coming testing off the retest of all of this as well. So it's a good area of interest in my opinion, because there is confluence to this trade if you are looking to take that. I just think that a 3-touch would be more preferred than a 2, but because we're in the run of momentum, the 2 might actually work out to be playing out well. Euro US New Zealand coming into this value area, too soon to tell. We're coming with a lot of momentum. I really would like to see a clear daily turnaround before I even look for longs. Right now I'm still short on this, so I'm going to leave that one as it is. We didn't quite get the entry we're looking for, but I wouldn't say that it was the best, because to be honest, it would have to pull back pretty far for it to come back down. So right now, tapping into those areas, and then we just need to wait and observe and see how price moves. US 30, if it comes back and taps into this area here, for no way possible are you going to hesitate on this. This is going to be a stunning trade. So I just literally have your ray line on here, and you'd set an alert and be patient. And I think that would really be the game plan here. We've got 2 bottoms now. All we need to see is, can this make its way back up? And then from there, either we get a small insurance entry or we just go right from there. We could develop into a 3-touch, but you'd have protection, well protected for whatever could happen. As anticipated with WTI Co-USD oil, we are still coming back up to potentially create a clear 3-touch and then potentially sell, maybe coming off the retest of this area. Still be a bit patient with that, but as we said, we are going to be waiting for a tap in, push back down, insurance entry, and a short. So this one requires a good level of practicing your patience. Obviously right now you could get some false sort of sell off, and then it ends up developing into something like this, where what happens is you get a continuation, and you could actually take that continuation to the upside as well at this point, because this would add on to your confluence for the short as well, because it's ending with a 1 2 3 in the state of an impulse correction continuation. So then in this area you'd be looking for the reversal, the push down, the insurance entry, and then the shorts. Obviously not that impulsive, but that's basically it. And then natural gas was definitely one. Now this is one that I've really been studying this, where you're getting to these lows, you're starting to create something which is very subjective. It's getting a bit messy, and then what tends to happen is you get something like this, and then all of a sudden there's that, and it goes. Right now this is not my preferred entry, I'll be honest with you. We can see that there's the possibility of this. It's just, it comes with a bit of a risk at this moment in time. I'm not preferred for that subjective first touch. However, nevertheless, if we do come in here and we insurance entry, I'd probably consider that, to be honest. I wouldn't say it's the worst. I think the middle section lacks quite a bit. It is corrective, which is nice. It just lacks that extra that I'm looking for. If we get this again, that's nice, and then we insurance entry and sell. I wouldn't say that's a bad trade. The nice thing about this one is we actually have this little piece of information which doesn't necessarily have to be that point. Because it's so close to this low, I'd be using the retest off the back end of that as your 1, 2, 3 base, and then as you tap into that and you get the risk entries, you can start to look to go short. But to mitigate any additional risk, I'd look for that insurance entry, and then that would be how I would play natural gas if you guys are trading it. I know that I had 2 or 3 messages about natural gas as well, so yeah, if you are trading it, that's how I do it. But bear in mind, I don't usually trade natural gas, so it can move off different data that I'm not aware of as well. So if you do think I missed anything on natural gas, definitely would be interested to know what you know. If it's something economical or macro, I'd be very interested. Then we're looking at Aussie CAD. Aussie CAD is the one I covered already. Yeah, I covered Aussie CAD. So Aussie CAD, just to recap, we're looking at it to tap into this area, push down insurance entry once again. We're looking for it to retest, push down. The risk entry there is a bit too risky, I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to take that risk entry. Even if we did come in with a ascending channel into that, I would still wait for whatever it does. It taps into this area, pushes in, gives me an insurance entry, goes. And that's probably the gameplay that I would look at for that one. So it would be insurance entry all day. US dollar Swiss, push up. So let it kind of do its thing down here, push back up, create an entry and push long, and then GJ is one to just be waiting on watch. So just going to be observing this one and just want to see how it moves. But likewise, if we just quickly have a little look at the yen pairs just before we end, we can see that the yen pairs are all gravitating into these areas. So we may see a significant push higher on some of these pairs before we go short. Yeah, I don't think the yen pairs are ready to go short actually. In fact, I'm not going to add this one into my daily forecast. I'm going to keep it on soft watch, and I'll keep an eye on that one for sure throughout today. So that's basically it for today, guys, and I will be posting a 5 of 30 video later today. I probably will jump on the data collection sheet that we started last week, and yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Thanks. Bye bye.